for his comment that got published in the Minnesota Law Review. So I think did you win money too?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you won a bunch of money. Listen to him, and he'll tell you good things.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to walk through how to set up your computers to have it just good to go. So when you get the petition, you can go in and just start writing, and things will be all set to go in terms of formatting, endnotes, fix a few things with how Word likes to auto-format things that are not in line with petition rules and things like that. So there is a written packet that is also going to go through all the things I'll be talking through, but I would really invite you to just follow along with me, and so then everything will be set up by the time that you start the petition. You won't have to do these things then. If you have any questions, feel free at any time to stop me, and I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm just going to dive straight in. So first point to note is that these instructions are mainly geared towards the latest version of Microsoft Word, which came out in 2016. If you don't have it, go download it. There's a link at the top of the instructions, and it's free. And I would really encourage you to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Word here.
The instructions are also on the membership page that we pointed you to. It's that link there, so if you want to just follow along online.
Yeah. And just go ahead and open up a new blank document. And just save it right away. Wherever you're planning on working the petition, you've got a folder on your desktop, wherever. I'm going to save it in my old petition folder from when I was petitioning. As petition draft. Once you've done that, make sure that you are in print layout, which Word does default to. And then we're going to start changing a few settings in the document. First thing you want to do, also if you need me to slow down, let me know that as well, is just select the whole thing. Change the font from Word's default to Times New Roman. Hit return. And make sure that everything is double-spaced. Then, this should already be set, but to make sure, go to the Format menu, select Paragraph, and you want to make sure that there is 0 spacing before and after each paragraph, and 0 spacing before and after for indentation as well. You can close out of that. Additionally, the document margins should already be set to 1 inch, although some older versions of Word will have them set to 1.25. Make sure that top, bottom, left, and right are all set to 1 inch. That the gutter is set to 0. Okay, now we want to go to View, select Header and Footer, and it'll take you to the header. Go ahead and type in hashtag, I forget what those start, I don't know. Anyway, type in whatever you want to call that symbol, either hashtag or pound, depending on how old you are. And then align it to the right instead of the left. And change its font back in the home section of the ribbon to be Times New Roman as well. You're going to change that number to your petition number when you pick up your petition packet, but hopefully that will remind you to change it once you have your petition packet. After you've done that,
question.
Yes.
Where did you get header and footer?
So if you go to View
Okay.
and go down to Header and Footer, and then click on that, it should come up. You're welcome.
And then how did you align it?
Control R, or sorry, Command R on Macs. Command R, or there's an option in the ribbon right here to do align to the right. Okay, after you've got that up in the header, you can close out of that and go to the Insert menu and do Insert Page Numbers. You want them on the bottom of your petition on every page, and you want them aligned to center. Go ahead and hit OK. It'll show up at the bottom, and now if you double click down there, it'll take you into the footer, where you can select the whole thing with Command A, change it like all the other fonts to Times New Roman. Then you can close out that.
If you go to the normal style and right click and hit modify, then you can change it to Times New Roman, and you don't ever have to mess with
Yeah.
the header. Because then it might change your footnotes as well.
So I'm going to get to the footnotes, and I believe that's okay. So that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. So now I'm going to just go ahead and fill in some basic things. As they said in the petition in the other room, the instructions in the packet will ultimately control. But for now, I'm just going to fill in sort of a bare bones title. I can spell title. All caps with case name. Then under that, you've got your introduction. Part 1, background. Part 2, what was part 2? Case description. Part 3, analysis, and your conclusion. With that background, that backbone there, now we're going to start and just do some filler text to give us something to put a footnote attached to. So this is a sentence, shockingly. And then you go to insert, and it says footnote, but you want to change that to endnote. So change that option there. You'll change the number format to be 1, 2, 3 instead of lowercase Roman numerals. And then click apply. And so that will properly make sure all your endnotes are the right number and are endnotes instead of footnotes. Yes?
Can you just redo that for me?
Sure. So I've got my sentence here. I'm going to go insert, go down to footnote. I'm going to switch it to endnotes. I'm going to change the number format so it's 1, 2, 3 instead of Roman numerals. And I'm going to hit apply. Now, if I hit Command Option E, it will add right. I mean, it looks the same as a footnote right now, but if I have a lot more text, it becomes an endnote. So I've got an endnote there, and I'm going to add some text to the endnote. I'm going to select the whole thing, and as you pointed out regarding the styles, then I'm going to go to Format, Style, and it's going to bring up some options that I want to change to modify the endnote style. So click on Modify, change the endnote font to Times New Roman. I shouldn't have hit return, so type in Times New Roman, and then I'll change the paragraph spacing of the endnotes as well to be double spaced as well. Hit OK, close out of that, hit apply, and now all your endnotes are also Times New Roman and also double spaced. So if I do a second sentence, and then Command Option E to do a second footnote, it's also Times New Roman. So that's it for the basic word settings, and now you're generally good to go in terms of writing your case comment. There are a few more settings that I'm going to talk through to change that you can work with as you go, but if you just change them now, it'll save you a lot of time while you're writing your case comment. So the first thing I want to talk about is, so I've talked about adding endnotes, Command Option E, and these are all in the packet as well. The second one I want to talk about is small caps. So if you're citing, for example, I don't know, my law review article about encryption backdoors. And you do your Command Option E to do your endnote. Then one of the Blue Book rules for journals is that you do small caps for the journal name. To do small caps very easily on a Mac, you just do Command Shift K, and now it will do it in small caps. If you're citing statutes, then you don't want them to have a line break between the section symbol. So for example, if I'm doing, is there a question?
Yeah, how do you get out of the small caps once you
So you hit, so it's the same thing again. So if I'm in small caps here and I want to go back to, I just hit Command Shift K again, and now it'll be back to normal. If you're citing, say, a statute or something with paragraph symbols, then there shouldn't be a line break between the section symbol and the section number. So if I'm doing, say, 28 U.S.C. section 1985, you don't want there to be a line break there. So what you can do for that is instead of just doing a normal space, if you do Option space, it will mean that it's a non-breaking space, and it will take the section symbol down to the next line. Next, let's fix a few things in autocorrect. So first, go to Tools, open up autocorrect, and scroll down to the ellipses here, and just delete it. And now when you type ... it won't, or no, sorry, that's not what you wanted. Don't listen to that. That's not what you should have done. I should read the packet instead of just going off on things. Okay, so if you do type in ... what you want it to replace with instead of the character ellipses is what the Blue Book calls for, which is ... space ... space ... Click Add, and now when you type it, just type in an ellipsis like normal. It will automatically fix it to be how the Blue Book calls for ellipses to be when you're leaving out portions of quotations.
Can you redo that part, please?
Sure. So I'm going to go up to the Replace section. I'm going to just type in an ellipses like normal, so 3 periods. I'm going to go down to the With section and type in period space, period. Going to go to the With section, type in period, non-breaking space, period, non-breaking space, period. And hit Add.
What's the non-breaking space again?
Option spacebar.
What if your computer does not respond when you say Option spacebar?
Then, I don't know, there's something wrong with your computer, perhaps. Or
Where are you supposed to use the option space?
So for the spaces, in between in the with section.
For the statute.
Oh, so for statutes, you want a non-breaking space between the section symbol and the number itself.
And that is options.
Yes. Back.
Do you do a non-breaking space after the last period?
No, because there will be some ellipses where it is acceptable to have a break after the fact. Yes.
I was trying to do something else, so I didn't even get to where you are on that screen. How did you get to that?
So if you go to Tools, there's an autocorrect option, and that'll bring you up to this screen. Melanie.
I was trying to play around with this earlier. Would you recommend putting the spaces in front of like under 5.3, would you recommend doing space, dot, like in the autocorrect, or just do it manually?
I didn't when I was petitioning you can. I'm gonna keep it simple and just say do this, and you can add the space manually if you want to. But that is an option if you are so inclined. Any other questions on ellipses? Sure. So if I have a sentence that goes on for a while and it's got a bunch of words in it, and it's a quote, and then I'm taking out a chunk of the quote, it knows to break the line because it doesn't want to break up the word, this word here. So let's say this is 2 words. It's able to break to know where it ends the line. Suppose that I want this word and this word to all be on the same line, or more realistically, let's say that I have an ellipsis and want all 3 of those dots to be on one line. Instead of putting in normal spaces, if I put in non-breaking spaces, it will force all 3 of those dots to be on the same line. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, more autocorrect stuff. So I'm going to go back. So still an autocorrect. I'm going to add an entry for the section symbol. So if you have, instead of having to remember what the keyboard shortcut is, in the replace section, if you type capital S, and you replace it, and in the with section, type option 6, which will give you the symbol key, or the section key, the section symbol, and hit add. Do the same thing for PP and option 7. Again, hit add. Then now, if you are citing a statute, instead of having to remember what the keyboard shortcut is, you can just hit SS, and it will correct to the proper symbol. Couple more autocorrect things to fix. Because we use parentheses C in a lot of legal writing, going to get rid of the copyright symbol as an autocorrect option. And then from the toolbar, if you go over to auto format as you type, uncheck internet and network paths with hyperlinks because we don't want them to be blue and underlined, and uncheck ordinals with superscript because Blue Book Rule 4, somewhere between 4 and 6 says don't use ordinals when you're doing legal writing.
What was the first thing you said?
Uncheck internet and network paths with hyperlinks. So from the main document, go to Tools, get down to Autocorrect, go over to Auto Format as you type. There's a whole bunch of checkboxes. You want to uncheck internet and you want to uncheck ordinals.
Can you show again how you got rid of the
Sure.
copyright?
So Tools, Autocorrect, it'll bring up this window and you want to be over in Autocorrect. Search so that you can then search for parentheses C parentheses. I already deleted it, so it's not showing up in mine, but there should be an entry that you can delete that will get rid of entering the copyright symbol.
Question.
Yes?
After the SS and then you did the symbol, did you do the option space after that?
No.
Okay.
Although that wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay, one more preference change to make, then I'm going to talk just a little bit about how to get the various types of hyphens and dashes. So if you go into Word, so go to Word, go to Preferences. If you go over to Spelling and Grammar, uncheck the Ignore Words in Uppercase option so that it will spell check your title for you when it is doing it. Alternatively, you can just pay really close attention to your title, but I encourage you to uncheck that box. Go to Word, Preferences. It'll bring up this menu here, and then if you go to Spelling and Grammar, it'll bring up the Spelling and Grammar options. Okay, so that is all of the preference changes. I'm going to talk a little bit about hyphens. So there are 3 types of dashes / hyphens you'll be using for your case comment. The first is your regular hyphen, which is just the key to the right of the 0 key. That's for compound words. That is not for series of numbers. The Blue Book says the hyphen is acceptable, but petition instructions indicate you should be using an N dash for series of numbers. So like pages 90 to 95, don't use a hyphen, use an N dash. How do you type an N dash, you may ask? Got your number, hold down Option and hit the hyphen key, and it will give you what looks basically like a longer hyphen, which is more commonly / correctly known as an N dash. And then you do whatever numbers you have after that.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. So hyphens for compound words only. Don't use them for page spans. If you're doing page spans, for example, 98 to 100, hold down Option and press the hyphen key, and it will instead give you an N dash. Okay. Finally, you might also use an M dash, for example, if you have an aside in a sentence. To type in M dash, hold down Option, hold down Shift, and press the hyphen key, and it will give you an even longer hyphen, which is correctly known as an M dash. Any questions about hyphens or dashes? Okay. Last thing I want to talk about, and that is cross-references. So as they said in the other room, you will not be cross-referencing yourself, but you might want to cite sources you've cited earlier. So for example, I've got source 4 here, which is something else. But now I want to cite this incredibly well-written encryption article again. To do that, rather than putting the whole citation of the article, you do a super form. Now, one way to do this is to say bar supra note 3 at 305. But the problem is that now let's say that I add another sentence in between the two. And that sentence has a footnote. Now this 3 is inaccurate because it's moved because the citation I'm supering to is moved to note 4. To solve that issue, instead of just typing in a 3 here, what you can do is go to Insert and do a cross-reference. Select endnote for the reference type, and then select the endnote you want to cross-reference and hit Insert, and then hit Close. Now, if I add a further sentence and another endnote, then that will update. Now, it hasn't updated yet, but once I go to File and Print, all the cross-references will be updated. So you don't have to keep track of that if you have them going automatically. Yes?
Can you magnify your, make your...
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I can make the dialog boxes bigger, but I can certainly talk through it again. So okay, so I've got. So we've got this reference about encryption backdoors, and now I'm writing something else, and that something else has an endnote that's not about backdoors. And then I'm writing about encryption again. And that one has an endnote where I'm citing to this source here in endnote 3 again. One way you can do that, which I wouldn't recommend, is to just type it all in. Like that. And you could do that for every source. But the problem you're going to have is that if you go back and then add another sentence earlier in the piece, and that one has its own endnote, it throws all the numbers off because now the source that you're supering to isn't 3, it's 4. So what you can do instead of just typing in a 3 here is you can go to Insert, Cross-Reference, and select reference type endnote, and select the endnote number that it's currently at, and hit Insert, and hit Close. And now, if you add more sentences, or say you delete a sentence, so that this one now changes back to 3, then once you do File and Print, all of those cross-references will update automatically, and so they will still point to the correct footnotes. That's all I've got to talk about. If anyone have any questions, either individually or large group, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to you. Okay, that's all we've got. So thank you for coming, and good luck on the petition.
Thank you.